My name is Michele and I'm an independent demonstrator here with Stamping Up in New South Wales, Australia. Thank you very much for joining me today. We're going to have a bit of a play with some new products. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be on last week, but unfortunately my husband and I had a funeral to attend to a dear friend, so that didn't enable me to jump on. So let me turn my camera down, but before I do that, please, when you do come on, say hello, let us know where you're from. It's always great having a chat with everybody while I am crafting. And if you want to craft along with me with whatever projects you're working on, please do so. So let me bring up my desk view. There we go, and let me show you a new product now. I thought I had the catalogue here handy, and it looks like I've popped it away. No, we haven't. It's just over here. So here's our new catalogue. Who is excited about this one? Beautiful catalogue. Now, these catalogues aren't an annual catalogue anymore. There'll be 3 each year. So this one is the May to August 2026 catalogue, and I can now open it and show you. There are some most beautiful products in here today in this catalogue. Of course, you also have your online exclusives, and if you're looking for any of these, you can head over to butterfliesandbows.com and you'll find a link there to my shop. So what I'm going to be looking at today is the Artisan Sketch Garden, which is this lovely black and white designer series paper. And we're going to create a card using that, and we're going to do a bit of colouring in with our new in colours, which are these colours here. So what we have is the crisp cantaloupe, the peaceful pine, excuse me, the golden glow, barley blush, and hydrangea hue. And I'm going to use a technique for colouring these in that I haven't done for a very long time, and that is using the blender pens. Now just let me grab the box that they came out of. Whoops. So I've got one here, and this is a blender pen. Excuse me. When you order these, comes in a box of like this of 3. They are a pen with a nib on either end. I'm terribly sorry. And these are filled with a fluid that you can use to do watercolouring. Now, generally with watercolouring, we want to use a watercolour paper. Even with these, I think I'd probably still recommend using a watercolour paper, but you can use your basic white cardstock, which is what I'm going to do today, and show you a few tips and tricks that I've found with using these blender pens. Actually, I'm not using the cardstock. I'm using the designer series paper, so that is a little bit more fragile. So let me just remove my catalogue and pop it back over here out of the road, and let me show you this stunning paper. So we have, it's all double-sided, it's all black and white. Hello, Katrina, how are you? Thank you very much for jumping on. So we have this beautiful floral here. Now, I did make a couple of cards when I was on stage, and I'm just wondering, I did see them a little while ago, where I put them. And we had a play with this paper. Here we are. I knew they weren't too far away. And what we did with this one here is, on this particular card here, we coloured in the background using our alcohol markers, Stampin' Blends. But with this one here, what we did is we actually coloured the flowers and left the background white. So that's 2 different ways that you can use this paper. And I'm going to show you a few more. So as you can see, I've already been cutting a few bits and pieces out. So it has this particular design, and you've got this little leaf pattern on the back. Other designs in this, oops, let me get the open end. This suite is this particular one where you've got a lovely flower sprig there with some leaves, and the back of that one is the stripe. Should have had all these out before I started, but anyway. This one here, we've got lots of vases with flowers in it, and the reverse of that one is a lovely little floral. I just love black and white, so I love how you can sort of intermix florals and use the other side for, you can colour them in. You can do all sorts of things with them. So here we have another floral here with a spot. These could be used for scrapbooking, card making, whatever your heart's desire, really. I'm trying to think. We should have another one, I think. Yeah, so then we have this one here, which again is an all-over floral, and we have that one on the back. So I love mixing black and white. I think, and because you've got things like the stripe, just the little leaf pattern, the little flowers here, even the black and white spot, you can mix them in with any designer series paper you wish. You could take something like this, colour it in your own set of colours and create your own designer series paper. So let me show you what we're going to be playing with today. I've already done a little bit of cutting out. I'm just going to pop those over to one side. I'll fix them up later on. And what I have done, I've used a couple of different sets here. I've got a sentiment which I've already pre-stamped, and I've used a sentiment from the Scallop Blooms, which is also in this new catalogue, the Scallop Blooms are just a beautiful set. You really do have to go and have a look at that one. But I'm just using the Thinking of You, and I've just stamped that using my Memento. I've also die cut a few of these beautiful leaves. Now, this one here has been with us for a while. This is from Nature's Symphony, sorry. And it's just this die here, so I've just cut it out. Fantastic die if you just want to add a couple of extra leaves to something, whether it be a scrapbook page or, again, a card like I'm doing today, because I just wanted to add a little bit of soft movement, and I've cut them out in vellum, which are also your online exclusives. So I've got those as well. I've already cut out, and I've fussy cut 2 sets of flowers. Now, with these flowers here, and let me see if I can find the sheet where I cut them out. Okay, if you can see here, I've cut out a section here in the middle, and I've cut out a section on the end. One of these pieces here came from the end here, so it's got a straight edge. Don't throw them away. Cut them out. You can create them and tuck them in to give your flower or your foliage a little bit more oomph to it, which is what I'm doing today. If you look down in this corner here, I've also been playing this morning with my colours, so I can show you how to use this pen. And I just want to, I'll bring this back in a minute because I do want to show you a couple of things on here that I think you need to be aware of when you're using your blender pens with your, either with basic white cardstock that you've stamped yourself or the designer series paper like we're doing today. I've also got, this is my card base. So my card base is made up of basic white, and I've got some basic black. I've got a piece of two-tone cardstock here, and I'm going to be using the darker side of that. And again, I've got some stripes with from the designer series paper pack as well, and a few more bits and pieces which we're going to put on the inside of our card. So let's get started, and we're going to start with colouring. Now, when you use your blender pens, and I've put mine down here somewhere. Don't want to grab out another one. There it is. It's just rolled off my desk to one side. You do need to have a piece of scrap paper with you, because it's always good to have that so you can clean your nib, because you don't need to have one of these per colour. Your nib will flow clean, and I'll show you that as we work. So I'm just going to move all this out of the road. Now, I could have very easily have coloured these with my Stampin' Blends. Now, just be very careful. You've got Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol-based. Then you've got a blender pen, which is more towards a water base, okay? So we're not dealing with alcohol here. They work very, very differently. So when you colour with your blender pen, what you need to do is transfer some ink onto the lid of your ink pad. So the easiest way to do that is close your ink pad, put your palm on either side of them and give them a good squeeze. Of course, the other way that you can do this is grab yourself a small block, and you can also pick up some ink by adding it onto your block. We just need some ink to work with. So I'm just going to pop that there, and I will use the ink for my block. And who loves the new magnetic stamp pads? I certainly do. Okay, so when you're using, as I said before, these pens, they have a nib on either end. They're both exactly the same. One's not thicker or thinner than the other. They're just the same. Now, you've got to be very careful when you're using your blender pens and you're using your cardstock, whether it be basic white cardstock or your designer series paper. You can, if you overwork the paper can pill. Now, the pilling is, and I don't know whether you can see it on here, I've done a little example. And this section here, this one petal, I have overworked that a little bit. And pilling is where the paper starts to separate. When your paper gets too moist, the top layer will start to come off. So you don't want to overwork this, particularly when you're using designer series paper, because it is even a lot lighter than your cardstock. So we're just going to be working very lightly, and this is what's going to give it a bit of a water wash type look. So I'm going to be using different colours here for different flowers, and I'm going to pick up a little bit of the ink with my pen. Now I'm using here the Barely Blush, so it is fairly light and you may not see it real clearly. And all I'm going to do is just give this a bit of a brush all over with colour. And I'm just working on it very lightly and just adding some colour down onto this. If I go around in a circular motion, I could cause that paper to pill, and I don't want to do that. And I'm just going to brush this from the centre outwards. And at the moment, all I'm wanting to do is just add colour. Don't worry about white areas. I'm just adding a bit of colour just like that. So if I bring that up, you can barely see it. Let me just put a bit of white underneath that. And hopefully, I don't know whether that will pick it up, but it's just got the lightest colour in there. I'm going to come back and just add a little bit more colour. So again, I'm just going to work this time from my inner side part of the petal and take my brush out and just flicking that colour outwards a bit. And just trying to build up some of that colour on there. Anywhere where I think there would be shadowing is where I'm trying to build some of my colour. Now I'm going to do this in all the different colours from the the new ink colours. So I'm going to use a few different colours here. And I'm just going to colour that in pink. I don't know what part of the flower, but it looks like it could be a petal. But just be very careful that you're not overworking it. So I've got a little bit of colour on there. I'm going to now just do one of the other ones. Just want to add a bit more ink onto my block. As I said, the colour is very hard to see. We're just going to very quickly do these other big flowers because I want those to be in this Barely Blush. And I'm really just sort of tapping the colour on there or flicking it outwards even a little bit. But just adding some colour on there. I am going to come in and add a little bit of crisp cantaloupe to these flowers just to bring in some more tone into them, more depth. And I'm going to do the same with this one over here. Just add a little bit of colour. And as I said, don't worry about white spots because it's always good to have a few white areas. So I've laid down a bit of colour. Once I've done that, I want to clean my nib off so I can do another colour. I'm just going to wipe that and turning my nib around on a piece of scrap paper over here and just keep doing that until my nib or what's on the paper runs clear. So as I said, I'm going to bring in a little bit of crisp cantaloupe here. I'm going to do the same thing, just give that a bit of a squeeze. I'm going to use my inkwell here, and I just want to add a little bit of colour. I don't want to add too much into this, but I just want to add a little bit and just flick that out. Just again, just to give a little bit of depth. So I'm just really pouncing my nib on here. Again, just going into those areas there that where the shadowing would be. Because not all flowers are all one color, one solid colour. Sometimes they have a little bit of other colours in them. Like you could do crisp cantaloupe with a bit of lemon lolly or something like that. Let me just bring that up so you can see it. Again, I'll just pop that onto the white so you can see that colour. So it's quite soft and very pretty. So we've added a little bit of colour to that one. And I'm just going to come back in now and add a bit of colour to this one. Again, just flicking that colour out a little bit. Just adding a bit of shading. Don't always need to go back and put more ink on your nib. Be quite surprised on how much colour is retained into this nib as you're using it. As I said, I'm just sort of pouncing the colour around a little bit just to keep it quite nice and subtle, but also too I don't want to overwork my paper, and I want to allow areas to dry and then come back and maybe work on those again. It is beautiful soft colours. That Barely Blush is so soft. But this just gives you that little bit of a watercolour effect without having to sort of have watercolour paper. And even if you weren't using watercolour paper with the blending pens, I'd just be very careful and sort of more dab it, because watercolour paper can be a little bit harsh on your pens if you're not careful. Now I've had the blender pens for many years and haven't used them. I've had to buy a brand new lot because I think my other ones were getting a bit dry, but they will last quite a long time. Now I'm just going to clean that off. As you can see, it's a brighter colour, and I'm just running that and turning my nib until that is going clear, because what I want to do is just bring in maybe a little bit more of that Barely blush, and just put a little bit more of that into some of these. And if I go back and work on the areas where I started, well, then they'll be dry from the last time, so hopefully you won't get too much pilling. Just adding a little bit of colour. Actually, I might even just pick it up from the lid because there's still quite a bit sitting here. Just want to add a bit of colour just to blend those in together a little bit. And I'm just going to leave it as that for now. We'll clean that out later on. So again, clean off my nib. And I'm going to come in with some Peaceful Pine. You can, if you want to, take your pen directly to your ink pad, but just be very careful, and you only just want to pick it up from the tip. You don't want to have too much ink on there. Excuse me. And this time I'm just going to do some leaves, and again I'm just going to flick that out just like what you do with the alcohol pens. Just flick that colour out a little bit. I want it dark at the base of the leaf, and then the colour just going out from there. And as you work the ink in your pen, the colour will get lighter, so you can get different lightness and darkness of colours there with that. So I've just added those onto there, and then we're going to do the same with the ones on here. So just working around, just double checking I've got all my leaves on both of those, and I do. So again, I'm going to clean that off and remove all that ink from that one. So the reason why I've gone and used a dark colour now is I want to show you that you can go to a lighter colour, which I'm going to go the Golden Glow. Give that a good squeeze again. and make sure my nib is nice and clean. And I'm going to go straight into this one and pick up a bit of colour from this. So here I can add a little bit of colour into the centre of my flowers. Put that one there as well. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this to some of these other flowers here. So I want to have these ones out here. Just going to just flick that colour out. Working out which flowers I want in this colour, because I've got one more colour to go. So now I might put the hydrangea one on that one. Okay, so let's just clean that off. Hello, Marie. How you going? Raining in Alberta. We've had rain here a couple of days too, which has been nice to have. It's starting to get quite cool here now. Woke up to a very foggy morning. Okay, so hydrangea hue, the last colour. Okay, so let's just make sure that nib is nice and clean. And I'm going to start with this one here, because I just want to add a little bit of hydrangea hue to this flower here. And again, I'm just working that, flicking that colour on. We're working with our blender pen today and our ink colours, and playing with our beautiful new designer series papers. So again, this one here, I'm just going to flick that colour out. I just cannot stress enough how much you're just got to be careful you don't want to overwork your paper, because you don't want to do all this colouring and then just overwork one section and it just all pills, and it doesn't look good. And I know, because I've done it. And I think that just highlights all of those colours there. So there we are. We've got all our ink colours in there. Hello, Vicky. Thank you for jumping on. Oh, have you, Marie? Yeah. I've got a couple of, well, a friend of mine anyway. And he goes over to Canada once a year to help out with the fires over there. Because your guys come over and help us when we have fires too. But, yeah, I know it's very dry here as well. That's why we were thankful for our rain we had. So I hope you get lots more rain and not as many fires. Okay, so let's bring in all the bits and pieces for our card and pop these all together. So we've got our vellum leaves, we've got our coloured flowers, we've got our sentiment, and we've got our card base here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inside of my card first. And I did have, and it looks like I have, nope, there we go, a little strip of the stripe. So we're going to start with our card base. I've got my insert here, and I will try to put this up on a blog for you over the weekend. And then all the measurements and everything will be up on that. So I've got a piece of basic white cardstock here, and I'm just going to glue this down onto my barely blush two-tone cardstock, and as I said before, I am using the darker side, and I'm going to pop that on, leaving about 1.5 mil, or if in inches, it'd probably be about 1/16 around those three sides. Let's just move that up a little bit. And then we're just going to add this little strip here. Put a little bit of glue. Not too much, just straight down through the center of that. Trying to work out where to put my fingers without getting it into glue. And we're going to add that right onto that edge there. Just like that. And that's for our card insert. And we can pop that now inside our card. It's just something a little bit different to just a mat and our writing piece. Now we could have coloured another little bunch of flowers and popped it on there too if you wanted to. But I just thought for today we can just leave it at that. So there's our card insert there. Okay, so to the front of our card, I've got my black mat here, and I'm going to add my stripe to my right-hand side. Again, just adding that 1.5 mil down either side. Pop the lid on that. So, hello Lynette, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Now what I'm going to do with this piece here, I'm going to do a little bit of tearing. Now depending on when you tear something, depending on the way you tear it, to the effect that you get. If I tear this towards me, I'm going to have a white torn edge, which is actually what I want. If I tear this away from me, if I tear sort of going behind and tear the left-hand side of it towards me, then I'm going to not have that white edge. But I want to have the white edge, so I'm going to tear this right-hand side towards me, okay? And I want to tear off probably about that much. So I've actually cut this as if it would be the full size of this here. If I wasn't tearing it, but you can see as I'm tearing this here, I'm getting a white torn edge inside there. And that's the beauty of having the two-tone cardstock. You've got a white core in the middle, and you can have that showing. Now, if I had have torn it with this, because to get that, I've torn this piece here towards me. If I had torn it away from me, I would have got an effect similar to what's here. So if I now tore this part, so that's my right-hand side, which I tore towards me before. If I tore this side now towards me, the left-hand side, it's a bit hard to see here what I mean, but because I would have had the extended piece on there, I will get the, I'm starting to waffle now. I would not have the white core showing. So that's just the way I remember how to do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to adhere that onto there. So it's got a little bit of texture on our card. Now, if you wanted to, you could pull up the edges of that a little bit, like I'm doing here, and give it a bit of extra texture. When you're tearing a straight line, you've actually, you probably have got a little bit of, on a plain colour, a little bit of play which way you want to go. just by using the one tear anyway. So again, we've got the dark or the two-tone facing up, and I am just going to give that a little bit more of a bit of a texture there. I don't mind if I'm curling that a little bit because I do want to have a little bit of texture here. You can roll it if you want more. Your fingers, you can let it rip a little bit more if you want it. See, I'll do that, and I'm starting to get little rips in there. You could do all sorts of things just to create that added texture to your card. And don't be afraid of pulling and prodding and tearing and having a little bit of fun with it. Just going to give that a little bit of a roll. So I sometimes just like to have. So we've got a nice bit of texture on there now. It does look like piano keys, doesn't it? Okay, so I want to now adhere this onto my card base. Probably didn't quite get my stripes nice and straight there like I usually like to do. But anyway, that's okay. Now these leaves here, I am going to use them on the back here. I might just have to flatten down some of my rolling. I'm not quite sure yet how, so we're just going to play with this for the moment, working out where we want it to be. We can also tear this in half if we need to shorten some of these leaves. So let's have a look and see what we come up with. So we want that piece to go somewhere maybe there. And then this one here, which has got that straight edge, because that's the one I took from the edge of my designer series paper, and I want to tuck that in underneath just to give it that little bit extra volume. And then our sentiment is going to probably go across. Now I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to put it at an angle. So what I might do is actually take this vellum piece out, and I'm going to pop some dimensionals onto there. Get these two pieces up. By putting them onto dimensionals, I can then add my vellum underneath. So when I do that, I like to just add a couple of dimensionals and just more close to each other. So I've still got room to tuck things in. Let's pop a couple on this one as well. I usually just put my dimensionals on in the center, and I've just taken too many off there. I can put one there. So that's given me a lot of room around the outer edge to tuck things in underneath. Take the backings off these. Probably the first card I've made for a couple of weeks. I've been doing so much scrapbooking, which has been good. So I'm going to pop that at a bit of an angle, and I want it to go out over the black. And then this one here, as I said before, we've got that straight edge, so it needs to be tucked in underneath. Tuck that into there like that. And then these pieces, I think I'm going to cut them just so then I can easily tuck them in where I want them to go. I want this bigger one, I think, first. Now I'm going to cut that down a bit more, because I just want this to fill. I think I'll probably put a dimensional somewhere where I didn't really want it to go. So I've managed just to lift that dimensional up there. Then this one here, I'm going to bring it in down there. I'm going to cut that little leaf there off the end. All I'm doing is just going to add a little bit of glue to the bottom of my leaf, just on there. I'm not putting it up towards the top, because I just want to tuck that in. Under there like so. And then I want to do the same with these other ones here. So I'm just going to grab this one here. See where I can fit him. He might actually go. I think he'll work well there. So again, just going to add a little bit of glue on those bottom leaves. You can always come back and add a bit more glue if you need to. And I'm just going to trim off that one. And then that one might get added into there. So again, just adding a little bit of glue. And just remember to be careful where you add your glue on your vellum, because it could show through. So I'm quite happy with that, and that all seems to be quite secure. But see how your vellum just sort of tends to give a bit more extra texture, and it just gives that light, I don't know, fairiness, like just lifts it. Now with our sentiment, we could take our sentiment going straight across, but I hate covering up my flowers. We could take it going slow. I don't want to fussy cut my sentiment, because I tend to fussy cut a lot of things. But what I do want to do is I'm going to cut that. I think I'm going to get a nice straight cut. Put the lid on my glue so I don't turn this around. I want a nice straight cut on this side here. And what I would like to do with this is have this coming across, and possibly even, I'm going to cut it straight here at the end, but I'm going to flag the end of this. So I've just cut it nice and straight, but I'm going to come in with my scissors and cut up about 1/2 centimetre, and then cut in from my sides into that centre cut there. Probably could take that flag in a little bit more if I wanted to. I think I'm just going to bring that down just about there. Okay. So I've got all these flowers already up on dimensionals, so I don't really want to set this up on dimensionals. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a bit of glue there through the center. And I'm just going to pop that there. Now what I will do is grab a dimensional, and I just want to pop it on this end here. Even though I've already glued that down, I'm going to use a pair of tweezers. Just to sit that in underneath there, and then take that backing off, just to support that end there a little bit. Lift that up a little bit. So that is pretty much my card. But let's see, what have we got that we can pop on this to add a little bling. So they could be nice. These are the adhesive backed metal gems. I think I knew. I think we got those at On Stage. I think actually I like those. Don't really want to add any more white to it, but just you will have to put this paper on your wish list. It was on my wish list from the moment we saw it at On Stage, but I've only just got it yesterday. I think I got the box. Now, am I going to go silver, gold, or rose gold? And you know what? I think I'm going to go the rose gold, because I think that will pick up that beautifully on that pink. And where am I going to put this? I always question myself where I'm going to put these. Okay, 1, 2, and then my third one I'm going to pop up just there. Okay. Let me just clean up my desk here a little bit. So there we go. See you, Lynette. Thanks for joining us. So there's my card for today. Just a simple thinking of you card. And just wanted to introduce you or reintroduce you to your blender pens, because they are something that, I mean, they've been around since way before I started with Stampin' Up, and I'm in my 15th year. So there's something they've been around for a long time, but with the introduction of our alcohol markers and so forth, I think they've become a little bit forgotten. But just if you do use them, great with all your ink pads, as I said before, but just be very careful you don't overwork it, because it will tend to peel your paper. Just to be able to just grab my scrap here and I'll show you. I mean, I'm sure you know what I mean by peeling your paper. But if I overworked a section of this, so if I just added colour, excuse me, and kept adding colour to that, it's just making a little bit of a liar of me at the moment. But if I kept adding liquid to this, and it's starting to peel, you can see there the top, I don't know whether you can see it too well, the top layers of the paper are starting to come off. And actually on my nib there you can see a little bit of it. So, you know, if you overwork it too much with these, you can start splitting your paper. The top layers will just come off. And that's why I'm saying, they're great to have, they're great to use, and I'm actually glad that they're still with us. There's lots of techniques I've done with these in the past where you can stamp an image and then use your blender pen to pull the colour from your stamped image out, which I'll show you again another time. But really good, handy thing to have in your stamping kit. Just as I said, it's a tool long forgotten. Mine have lasted me many, many, many years. These are a new pack which I've just purchased because I thought, well, after trying them, I decided that mine might be getting a little bit too old. But anyway, there's my card. It looks like my internet is starting to play up a little bit, so I better go. Hi, Sharon. And I'm starting to waffle a bit, which is me. But anyway, take care. Have a lovely day. Thank you very much for joining me today. Remember, any of these products that I've been using today, if you don't have a demonstrator, you can purchase them from my website, Butterflies and Bows, or go to michelledutrissa@stampingup.net. Either of those two places you will find my shop, and you can purchase from me there. If you like what I've done and you would like to support me in any way, you can also buy me a cup of coffee. Now, just to let you know what that is, you will see on my Facebook page, on my YouTube channel, and on my blog, a yellow cup of coffee. And it's just a way of not having to purchase from me, because I don't sell my tutorials. I write them and I put them all up for free for people to use. But you can buy a cup of coffee for $7. It's just a quick and easy way to help support me and continue on with what I'm doing here, bringing you YouTube videos each week. So if you have any more questions about Buy a Cup of Coffee, or any more questions about any of the products I've used today, please contact me and let me know, and I will answer them the best I can. So take care, and next week I'm going to start a new project, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to join me. I was hoping to start the project tomorrow and do a live on Saturday, but this weekend is gearing up to be a very, very busy weekend for me. So it'll have to be next week. You'll have to wait to hear what the project is, but it will be a project I'll be continuing on for a while. So take care. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you next week. Bye for now.